Nation in Conversation, proudly brought to you by Afgri, Fort Knox, Hinterland, Monsanto, Nedbank, NWK, and Senwes.
Welcome to Nation in Conversation. I'm Theo Foster. My guest today is Francois Strydom, Managing Director of Senwes. Francois, welcome.
Thank you, Theo.
Senwes is a big player in the South African agriculture landscape. Where are you positioned and what are you busy with?
I think if you look in basic terms, the food value chain starts with about 30,000 commercial farmers on the one side and ends with 55 million consumers on the other side. And you need to transform basic biological material into product, safe, affordable, and nutritious product. That is what the consumer looks for. So we're in the value chain just after the producer, so between the producer and the further processing of that product. That's where Senwes roughly are situated. So if you could paint a picture in your mind between the farmer's gate and the processor's gate, that space is what we fill. We will take product to the farmer, to the primary producer, to enable him to produce. And once he has produced, we will take that product to market. And market in this sense is then further processing, either feed mills or milling or crushing to get to further product. That's the space that we play in.
If we look at the population growth in South Africa, you look at the urbanization, obviously the maintenance of that value chain and the efficiency of that value chain will become more and more important over time. From a medium-term strategy, where would you position Senwes?
So we analytically looked at the whole value chain, and we decided that rather than taking sort of a mile wide, inch deep look at the industry or the value chain, rather to look at it a mile or an inch wide, a mile deep. In other words, specialize, sort of follow a value approach. So that's where you'll find us at a specialized level. We'd rather know a little bit more about a little bit of fewer aspects than the other way around. That's the space we'll play in. Of course, if you do that, you have to geographically have to mitigate your risk. You have to mitigate your risk sort of across commodity types and also on client base and on a brand strategy as well. So that would be our approach. Locally, to consolidate the industry and then to internationalize, but specifically in that industry.
Specific focus areas.
Yes.
Senwes was one of the initial instigators or one of the creators of Nation in Conversation. What was your aim with that?
Yeah, I must tell you where we are now and where we started. You never think that things will work out the way it worked out. Sort of the first cut 3 years ago was to start at Nampo and get the conversation going. The nation part, I think, came later. Very quickly we realized that it's no sense. It just doesn't make sense to talk to ourselves, to talk to people who knows what goes on in agriculture. What you need is to talk to the 55 million end consumers, to let them have a sense of, what are the burning issues in agriculture? Why is agriculture important? Let me just give you an example. During this time, you see student uprisings right across the nation. Now, can you imagine if you overlaid that with hunger, with a lack of affordable and nutritious food, what would have happened? So if you look back in the history of South Africa, we've always managed, and I talk about, if I say we, the whole food value chain has managed to deliver on that promise. And that has a lot to do with the well-being of our nation, the fact that we got through high turmoil, political turmoil, rather unscanned. Just think of the history. So I think Nation in Conversation then developed really into a conversation to the nation and with the nation about agricultural aspects, and then even more about the whole food value. And if you look at the numbers and the area and the feedback that we get, this has just exploded and it's gone much bigger than we ever thought.
It's reaching communities and people that was never part of the conversation before. And that is part of the strategy.
Well, if you just think about my previous statement, 30,000 people producing for 55 million. So the industry is relatively sort of unknown. It's in the outlying areas. There's a big part of the South African nation that's urbanized, that their sense of food is the nearest retail outlet. They don't know where it comes from and what the challenges are. So this was really the initiative to talk to them about those issues, to try and transcend that gap. And I think, to me personally, the whole issue of a conversation and not a sort of a debate, a wrong and right issue, but just to talk about the issues, to let them know. And of course, that is the most powerful message. If somebody understands where you're coming from, understands what the issues are, then they can almost fight on behalf of you. But I think in the end, to me, the whole push is towards maybe the first part of it, the nation. We have to do something ourselves. If we want South Africa to be a winning nation, to be what every one of us dream about, then we personally need to do something about that. That is what really makes me proud. If you look at the enthusiasm of the production team, they know that they're working on something that's making a real difference to the nation. So I think this is things that starts to get to the surface, and that really excites me.
Taking responsibility for the future outcome.
Yes, taking responsibility, the citizenship. South Africa belongs to the people of South Africa, not to politicians. And therefore, we have to take that responsibility to make the difference. I think that's the issue. That's why it's nation in conversation. We the nation.
Thank you, Francois. That was Francois Strydom, Managing Director of Senwes. From me, Theo Foster, good day.
Nation in Conversation, proudly brought to you by Afgri, Fort Knox, Hinterland, Monsanto, Nedbank, NWK and Senwes.